from a living wage, which means $15 an hour over the next 3 years. Now, I don't think it is a terribly radical idea to say that in America, if somebody works 40 hours a week, that person should not be living in poverty. Brothers and sisters, a living wage should not only be fair, it should be equitable. There is no excuse for women making 78 cents on the dollar. Let me congratulate President Obama for doing something that is long overdue and making sure that millions of working people finally get time and a half when they're working 50%. That's an issue that many of us have been working on, and I'm glad the President came through. Now, some of you may know, many of our Republican friends are very deeply concerned about family values. They just, they love families. And their view of family values is that women should not be able to control their own bodies. Their view of family values is that women should not be able to purchase the contraceptives they need. You know, when I say these things, it really is hard to believe. Can you imagine? And their view of family values is that gay people should not be able to get married. Their view, their warped view of family values. Let me give you another view of family values. I have 4 kids. I got 7 beautiful grandchildren. My wife is here. We've been married for 27 years. I believe, and you believe, in the importance of family. And that is why, because we believe in real family values, the United States must end the international embarrassment of being the only major country on earth that does not guarantee workers paid medical and family leave. Sick time or paid vacation time. So let me talk a little bit about family values. Today in Wisconsin or in Vermont, a woman is having a baby. One of the most meaningful and important moments in her life. Father is standing right beside her. But because that family does not have a lot of money, that woman will be forced to go back to work in a week or 7 or 8 days. That is not a family value. In every other major country, women, regardless of their incomes, and the father as well, are able to stay home with their baby, get to know their baby in the most important moments of their baby's life. Yeah! a family value, and that is why I will fight for 12 weeks of paid family leave. Let me touch on another issue that is almost never talked about at all, but it is an issue of enormous consequence. And that is, as a result of the collapse of the American middle class, what we are seeing is people in our country working incredibly long hours. Incredibly long. I go around the country and I look in the eyes of people. They are tired, they're exhausted, they are stressed out because they are working and working and working. I'll tell you briefly a story. A couple of years ago, outside a grocery store in Burlington, Vermont, I met a woman. And she came up to me and she said, "You know, Bernie, my husband and I have one kid, but we would like to have more kids. But I'm working 3 jobs, he's working 2 jobs, and we do not believe that we can be the parents we should be. So we're putting off having more kids." That story is being told all over America. Today, the American people are working longer hours than the people of any other major country on earth. The Japanese are very hardworking people. We work 137 hours a year more than the Japanese. We work 260 more hours a year than the British, and we work almost 500 hours a year more than our good friends in France. What can we say about the French? Now here's the point, and I say this in order to put where we are today in a broader context. When we were kids in school and we read history textbooks, we saw pictures in those books of workers out on the streets demonstrating 100 years ago, 1910, 1912, 1914. Those workers held up these big banners and the signs. And you know what those signs said? Union! They said, "We want a 40-hour work week." What they said is we are not beasts of burden. We want time with our families. We want time for education. We need time for leisure. That was 100 years ago. Today, unbelievably, 85% of working men and 66% of working women work more than 40 hours a week. 100 years have come and gone, and we have lost ground. Now, at the very least, what the United States must do, and I will do as president, is to make sure that every family in this country gets at least 2 weeks off of paid vacation. Now, when pollsters go out and they ask the American people what is uppermost on their mind, what are they most worried about? The answer always is a 4-letter word called jobs, J-O-B-S. When you have real unemployment of 11%, youth unemployment over 30%, now is the time for a federal jobs program to create millions. In virtually every state in this country, our infrastructure, our roads, our bridges, water systems, wastewater plants, our rail system, our levees, and our dams need an enormous amount of work. Now is the time to invest in rebuilding our crumbling infrastructure. A wonderful... A $1 trillion investment will create and retain some 13 million jobs, and that is exactly what I intend to do. But when we talk about jobs, it's not just the need to create millions of decent paying jobs. It is the necessity to end job loss as a result of disastrous trade policies. You are looking at a senator and former congressman who voted against NAFTA, against CAFTA, against and I will do everything that I can to defeat this disastrous TPP. About rebuilding the American middle class, we're talking about rebuilding the American trade union movement. There are millions of workers who would like to join unions today but are unable to do so because of illegal actions on the part of their employers. In my view, if 50% plus one of workers in a bargaining unit sign a card asking for a union, they should have that union. When we talk about greed, when we talk about recklessness, when we talk about illegal behavior, these are just another word, another phrase to describe Wall Street. In my view, this is a hugely important issue for the future of our economy. It is time to break up the largest financial institution. Wall Street cannot continue to be an island unto itself, gambling trillions in risky financial instruments while expecting the public to bail it out. In my view, we've introduced legislation to deal with this. If a bank is too big to fail, it is too big to exist. When we talk about issues of jobs, education, or the environment, or any other significant issue, they all are related to another issue which undermines everything else that's going on in America. And I think you in Wisconsin are very familiar with this issue. So let me be as blunt as I can be when I tell you what you already know. And that is that as a result of the disastrous Supreme Court decision in the Citizens United case, the American political system has been totally corrupted, and the foundations of American democracy are being undermined. What the Supreme Court said in so many words is they said to the wealthiest people in this country, they said, okay guys, you already own much of the economy. Now we are going to give you the opportunity to own the the United States government, and that is what they are trying to do right now. Let me be as clear as I can be, and that is that as President of the United States, I will not nominate any justice to the Supreme Court who has not made it crystal clear that he or she will vote and work to overturn this disastrous statute. Overturning Citizens United is terribly important. Passing the disclosure law is very important. But long term, if we want to see a vibrant democracy where people of any political point of view who want to be in public service can get up and run for office without having to beg rich people for money, we need to move